by little, just needs came open. We went from one house to two houses, and I had done a little bit of everything at the one ranch that we had at that time. And then we knew that we would have to get another program manager to handle a second house. And even though I didn't really know all that entailed, I went to Mr. Scott and said, you know, would you consider me for that? And absolutely, at that time, he said yes. And so I started that process of being a program manager, which meant taking on more responsibility. And I still continued to help in every way that I could at both ranches. I got to know the boys. I began to learn how to discipline them in love, and really began to get a handle on our philosophy and how relationship, and we know that, but relationship is everything, and unconditional love, and letting these boys understand that, you know, we love them. There may be consequences and there may be discipline, but we love you no matter what you do. And one of the biggest things that captured my heart was, I remember Mr. Scott, you know, telling the boys in front of me one day, a boy, you know, no matter what you do, we're gonna love you. We want you here. We want to be your family. And you may have consequences that take you to a different place, but we will never kick you out. We will never, because of your behavior, we're going to stand by you and work with you and walk this journey with you and be there for you. And I realized that that is the thing that made us different. It was probably fast forward a little bit down the road, and you know, I didn't really think it would happen anytime soon, but Mr. Scott began to talk about stepping back and doing some different things that were in his heart, and still being there for the ranch, but maybe going into a little bit of a different avenue, and asked if I would be interested in kind of stepping up and taking over the day-to-day. And absolutely, I was up for the challenge, and that started my journey as ranch director. And so I really learned then what it was like to sit in his seat, because up till that time, I never had to worry about finances or budgets or bank accounts or any of that. And you know, the scope of all of that and the magnitude of all of that just gave me even more respect for him and Deanna than I had already, if that was possible. So I began to learn, and it's a long journey of learning. And it was great because I knew he was there right by my side, teaching me, always just a phone call away. And that really, you know, began the journey to being the executive director and Mr. Scott retiring. So it was a long journey. I don't want to make it sound short. It was so much to learn, and much of that, I remember after I took that on, I remember thinking one day, oh my goodness, you know, having boys sometimes that absolutely everything I knew to do just didn't seem to work or didn't seem to get through to them. And I would literally go to him in frustration and say, you know, this is the situation, and I've tried everything I know to do, and I need some help. And he would undoubtedly pull out some tool out of his years of experience and never really tell me what to do, but you could try this and you could try that. And undoubtedly I would try it and it would work, and I was amazed. So little by little I built my own tool belt and began to learn how to deal with all the different kinds, just like our children. All these boys are different, they're precious, they're they're unique, and they all have their own set of circumstances and their journey. And I absolutely love to tell them that no matter what happens, always remember it's not the end of your story. God has a plan for your life, and there's so much more to be written in your story. This may be a difficult time, but it's just a chapter, and you'll have many chapters to come. It made me think, while I was thinking today, I thought of a young boy, and I'll just call him Jay. And he was one of the boys that truly impacted my life. After I became the program manager here at our newer ranch, I looked out the window. My office was right in the front of the house, and I looked out the window, and here came a social worker with the smallest boy, definitely smaller than we had ever had at the ranch since I was there. And he walked up to the door and absolutely had a look on his face like, this is the last place on earth I want to be. He didn't really want to talk to me. He was very upset, and I could see that. And Jay was 9 years old, and he was a small 9 years old. And of course, he captured my heart that day, and I began the hard work of building a relationship and getting trust. When trust is broken for a child so deeply and so many times, it's really hard for them to trust anybody. So we began that journey, and I remember that day so vividly because he told me, don't talk to me, I'm not going to be here very long. And I said, okay. And we got him settled in, and I knew he was hungry, and I said, can I fix you some lunch? Let's go in here and get some lunch. He let me know really quickly that he did not need me to cook for him, that he took care of himself, and he was not a baby. And I said, okay. And I took him to the kitchen, he found what he needed, and he cooked himself macaroni and cheese and eggs. Very well, I might add. And for the next, I can't remember exactly how many days, maybe a week, every day, every meal, he made macaroni and cheese and he made eggs, and that's what he ate. He would not eat what we served the other boys, and there was just something in my heart that knew I needed to let him do that. This was not rebellion, this was not disobedience, this was the reaction of a child who had been traumatized and taken away from, no matter how bad it may have been, taken away from everything that he was familiar with. So, the days rolled on, and eventually he allowed that. And, each night I would put him, take him to his room and say goodnight and offer to pray. And of course, again, he was not a baby and didn't need that. But it wasn't very long till those nights of reading a Bible story and praying became some of the most precious times, not only for him, but for me. When you see trust and relationship in a child, see their eyes begin to have light again and to trust again is really an amazing thing. And it's awesome to be a part of that. So we had him for 3 years, and then had him maybe a year or so later for another year. And even though he had some really difficult times, he had to work through some things and went through some tough things. But just a few short days ago, he brought his newborn baby girl to see me at the thrift store. And as I stood there and I watched him so tenderly and lovingly hold this baby and tell me all about her and just love her, it brought tears to my eyes. And I thought, regardless of everything that he's been through, he's a good father. And that let me know that when you stick with kids for the long haul, and we've continued to have a relationship whether he was at Eagle Rock or not, he's been a part of our family. He's spent holidays with us, and he knows that we're always there when he needs encouragement or a hand up or some help in any way. And it let me know absolutely that what we do makes a difference. It changes the trajectory of a young man's life. You know, maybe not all of them, but enough of them that it gives us hope, and we know healing can happen and bondages can be broken, trauma can be healed, and young men can go on to be great husbands and great dads and have a great family.